So what's going on with me? Uh, well, I guess I refuse to lose. Even though I got all these things going on, I refuse to lose. And this is not a sign of a local nigga unraveling. Some people think for some of my other posts that I've gone off the deep end, but I haven't gone off the deep end. I'm just having, a couple of problems like everybody else. You know, I operate at a pretty high level of efficiency when I'm interested in something. I become self-actualized. You cannot separate me from what I'm doing. For example, you know, when I was in the skateboards, I came up with a way to have completely sealed ball bearings, more sealed than what they call sealed ball bearings. Like you could actually roll through puddles and puddles and puddles of water and your bearings won't rust. But I was never a really good skateboarder. So there's that. When I wanted to learn how to shoot a gun, I spent considerable time and considerable amount of money shooting a gun, and learning how to shoot a gun. Now, that doesn't mean I'm anywhere near as good as those professional shooters. Nowhere near as good. I would consider myself average, but my average is considerably better than what a lot of people can do. I don't target shoot. I shoot for practical reasons, and that's that. When I was in college radio, I operated at a pretty high efficiency. That's why I have Naughty by Nature Platinum Records. That's why I got written up in Hits Magazine. That's why I was able to review records for Gavin Magazine. Those are trade magazines, by the way. And I was recognized by like the college reps. Everybody really, really knew who I was, and I had some opportunities that I just couldn't take advantage of, because no money. So there's that. Now, Dr. Boyce Watkins, had recently put out a video, how to tell if somebody's broke or if you're dealing with a broke person. And one of the things that he had said was that people kind of just float around hoping to find themselves in a good situation. That was a fairly accurate assessment, I think, because that's how I ended up in security. I didn't want to be in security, just kind of, was floating around, and just needing a job. And, one of my things is you couldn't get a job doing nothing else. You can get a job in security while you're looking for something else. Turned out to be doing it for, 11 years, which is some bullshit. Spent a lot of money at it because I got a lot of good equipment. But I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not interested in that at all. So I'm really just chomping at the bit, trying to get the fuck out of it. But now the mini keeps, putting his hands in my pocket. She keep putting her hands in my pocket this month. She's $1,000 deep into my pocket, which is really, really making my life extremely uncomfortable. Now, people keep asking me, keep trying to push me into security, because you care about your community and this and that and the other. Well, yeah, I do care about my community, but, there's other ways, which you can serve your community. And, security is just, not nothing that I want to do. Every man's got to know his limitations. People want me to be a bodyguard. Somebody asked me about that recently. No. I say, that ride till you die stuff is good as long as you die. Now live with the injuries. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm living with some injuries. So every man's got to know his limitations. And excuse me, bodyguard is not what I do. So with that being said, people also ask me, why don't you, they continuously ask me, why don't you be a cop? Well, before the motorcycle injuries, before the injuries, I was, considering it like anyone else in security. So that's one reason why I'm not a cop. Physically, nah, can't do it. Can't be. I don't think of any real assistance to the people I need to be assistance to. And two, the more I looked into the politics of policing, the more I looked into it, the less I liked it. The police have a lot of abilities, a lot of powers, but they also have a lot of constrictions, and then they do a lot of things that I just don't agree with and I just don't like. The politics of policing. You can police one community one way, but you can't police a community, a different community the same way. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? And so I don't like it. In fact, I've actually, two guys that I met in Detroit, one I slowed down and I slightly changed his perspective on policing, although he still may become police. And another guy, after I showed him what I learned, he decided, he didn't want to be the police. He didn't want to be a police officer. So, so I think I did some good there. I actually like this kind of YouTube stuff. I can add to people's perspective, but it has its limitations, I guess, for me. So that's kind of some of the background. I'm a man kind of ruled by his interest, and I'm no longer interested in security. And I fit in a particular niche in security, and I do it very well. Although not everybody agrees with how I do it, but they don't compensate me for the risk I take, for what I know, and for my abilities. So the hell with it. I'm literally chomping at the bit, trying to get out of it, but the mini just keeps his hands in my pocket, and so that's a problem. So so somebody from my past. So I'm looking for opportunities. There's a couple of links on my Facebook page, Darren Long's GRSE, where if you go there, where one guy's saying, don't chase your passions, chase opportunity. There's some wisdom to that, because I've done that before. I kind of chase my interests, but sometimes whenever I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm chasing that opportunity. Once again, security. I mean, as a security officer, especially at the range in which I do it, I have far more equipment and far more abilities and far more understanding and far more skills than most people who do it. So I was just chasing an opportunity that didn't pay me. But anyway, so a blast from the past. Well, I don't even say a blast from the past. That's inaccurate. But someone from my past who I arguably may with some difficulty have to put in my rear view mirror. I don't want to put them in my rear view mirror, not at all. But some things that are in your past probably just need to be in your past, and there's probably no way around it. So anyway, something that they wanted to do that I said, listen, I'm looking for an opportunity. Can I do this with you? And it made it seem like maybe they were interested, but there's no communication. So, but it was something that I thought that I wanted to do, before with someone else, maybe not quite in this way. But the more I looked into it, this may be something that I may be able to do on my own. So that's what I'm chasing. I'm not chasing security. I'm just working these 2 security jobs, trying to get the fuck out of security. Trying to drive out of Detroit and not drive back. Not that I hate Detroit. Don't ever get it twisted. I don't hate Detroit. Actually, for whatever reason, I get smarter when I come to Michigan. I just get smarter. I just run into different kind of people that add to my perspective in different ways. I don't run into those people when I'm in Atlanta. But I run into them, all the time when I'm here in Michigan, and it's just kind of a strange thing. But Detroit's too hard to look at. It's a hard city to look at. Never mind, how reckless they can be, because people think people from Detroit are tough, and I don't think people from Detroit are tough. I think they're a little hardened to some things, and they can be reckless, but tough and real hard. No, they're not. They're just a little reckless. And hardened is not hard. Those are 2 different things. Hard and tough are not hardened and reckless. So the people from Detroit can be hardened because of their environment, but that don't mean they're hard. And they can definitely be reckless as the amount of things that you see going on. But it's kind of funny. I get more problems out in the suburbs than I do when I'm in the city of Detroit, because sometimes the people in the suburbs think that shit can't happen, and I feel like shit can happen, but it's my job not to go to prison over something relatively stupid. So I'm not going to prison over something stupid, but I feel sometimes I feel like the world is testing me, and I feel like Trump won't be able to save you. The police won't be able to save you. I'll just end up going to prison for something stupid. So it's kind of easier for me just to walk away from that. And I'm not on the job, so I can walk away from that. But anyway, so I'm chomping at the bit to get out of security. The minute keeps putting his hands in my pocket, and this person who can motivate me and inspire me probably begrudgingly will end up in my rearview mirror, even though that's not where I want them to be. And that's just sad, and that's just horrible, but that's probably the way it's going to have to be. And I don't know what to do about it, and I don't even know if I should do anything about it. Maybe I should just let that be. Anyway, that's the update. That's what's going on. Yeah. I have no intentions of seeing winter 2017 in Detroit. No intentions. No intentions. None at all. If I'm here in winter 2017, is because I feel like I didn't do what I needed to do. I must need some more money. Somebody gave me a great opportunity, and I just had to follow that. And I won't even say a woman can keep me here, because I'm not even trying to meet one. In fact, I'm trying to do everything not to meet one at all. Anyway, I'm done. Deuces.